So last week, Trump spent some time with the leader of Norway, and after that, he had an immigration meeting with some senators, some Democrats, some Republicans, and in that meeting, he allegedly said, why do we have so many immigrants from shithole countries, quote, shithole countries, why can't we have more Norwegians come here? So, originally, he didn't deny saying that. The White House did not deny that he said that. But now, in the days since, there are some Republicans who came out and said, no, I was in the room and I didn't hear him say that. It's always weasel words to kind of tap dance around it, which leads me to think, of course he said it. And then some are saying, oh, it was misrepresented. I'm sure. And every single Democrat in the room, Dick Durbin being one of them, but there were others, came out and said, no, he did say that. And it was clear that he said that. It wasn't up in the air. We know for sure. So this story, in particular the shithole countries phrase, that led to a tsunami of criticism. It's some of the toughest I've seen the press be on Donald Trump. Now, why is that? Well, you have to look at the context. And according to the context that we were given, what he's saying is, and he gave specific countries too, El Salvador, Haiti, and African countries. What he's saying is, hey, people who come here from El Salvador and Haiti and Africa, they're not welcome because those are shithole countries, which means that everyone coming from those countries are shitty people, which of course is the fucking definition of bigotry. Oh, Haitians are going to come here. People from El Salvador are going to come here. Africans are going to come here. Why do we have so many people from shithole countries coming here? So the point there is, these are inherently shitty people. Now, the implication is all people who come from these places are shitty people, which again is, I don't know how anybody could argue that's not bigoted. Of course that's bigoted. Now, furthermore, immigrants from those countries, ironically, are typically way more educated than immigrants from predominantly white countries, from Europe, for example. So, you know how the right, when you press them enough, they go, no, we just want to get rid of the illegal immigration. All we want is legal immigration, and we want it based on merit. That's what we want it based on. We want people who are going to come here and are going to work their ass off. Well, guess what? According to your own standard, Republicans, your merit-based standard, way more people who come here from Africa, for example, are educated. They get a degree. So that's an interesting fact, isn't it? Because it really unmasks their real position. Their real position is, they're black and brown people, and I don't really want them in the country. So even though they are more educated, which means in their mind, the mind of the Republicans, that means they work harder, right? They went and they got a degree and they're working hard. They're more educated, but I still don't want them because, shithole countries. They're from shithole countries, so they're shithole people, even if they're really hardworking and they got educated. And whatever, just we don't want them. So I wonder what the operative factor is and who they want to let in and who they don't want to let in. Why would you want more Norwegians to come here, right? Like that's what he was saying. Hey, let more Norwegians come here. When Norway is just colossally left-wing. I mean, they are a social democracy through and through. You're talking about, stronger middle class, single payer, paid vacation time by law. So if they're massively left-wing and you're saying, hey, why can't we have more people from that massively left-wing country come here? Well, then that's an admission. It's not about politics. He's not saying it's because the politics of the country are shitty. When he says they're shithole countries, therefore don't let them in, if it's not based on politics, what's it based on? It's based on race. So, I don't know how anybody could argue that this is not a bigoted thing to say. Of course it's a bigoted thing to say. The implication was keep out all people from these countries because I've deemed them shithole countries, which means the people from there are inherently shitty. All the other factors don't matter. Merit doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how hard they work. And by the way, let me be clear about something. I'm not even sure I'm in favor of a merit-based system, because the whole point of people coming here is that, and this is what it's been all along, oh, I want to get a better life and have a better future, so I'm going to go there. So even if people are from a so-called shithole country, that doesn't mean that the people leaving the so-called shithole country are shithole people. Like the idea, what, Trump's family didn't come here? Why would they come here? Were they coming from a country that had troubles? Probably, you know. My family on my mom's side was from Italy. Going back, I think my mom's grandma was the one who came here. Right, so my great-grandma was the one who came here. And I guess they came from Italy, and they were thinking, hey, we're going to leave here and go to America because we want to create a better future. So Trump's logic is to turn around and say, well, stop coming from your shithole countries. But again, wouldn't the argument be, hey, we're leaving because we want to create a better life? So the idea is they want to come here and work harder? So the logic breaks down. But even so, he would never say that about a place like Italy. Why? Because they're white. They're viewed as white, people who come from Italy. So it's like, oh, even though you were massively poor when you came here and all that stuff, hey, good people trying to get ahead. But when it's people from Africa or El Salvador or Haiti who want to do the exact same thing, and the statistics show they actually do that, where we're going to go get educated at a much higher rate than the rest of the country and yada, yada, yada. He's like, no, I still don't want you here. Why? What's the only factor left? You tell me. And, it's a ridiculous conversation to have anyway about Trump's bigotry. And I say that because if you don't realize at this point that he's a bigot, you're just not, you're lying to yourself, or you're just ignorant on his history. So this was an interesting tweet, I thought, from Keith Boykin. When did you know Trump was racist? 1, housing discrimination. Let's just pause right at the first one there. That's one that many people don't know. It was reported early on when Trump ran for president, but then it kind of went away. Trump and his dad owned buildings, and they refused to rent to black people. Yeah, strike one, you're out. If you're going to refuse to rent to black people, again, isn't that like the definition of racism and bigotry? Yeah, I own a building, and it's like blacks need not apply. I don't care about your income. I don't care about your situation. I don't care about the content of your character. I don't care. It's redlining. Sorry, you're not allowed in this part of town. Trump and his dad were sued over that. They had to go to court. Okay, that's just number 1 we're on here. Number 2, the Central Park 5 lie. That's when Trump wanted the death penalty for people who turned out to be innocent. People of color who turned out to be innocent of a crime. He called for the death penalty for them, and he had no evidence of their guilt, but he said, I want to kill them. And then even after they were proven innocent, he was like, yeah, we should kill them anyway. Birtherism is another one. Yeah, wow, the first black president of the U.S., he wouldn't shut the fuck up about, oh, he's not born here. I think he's from somewhere. I think he's from Kenya. I think he's from somewhere else. Oh, he showed his long-form birth certificate. I don't care. I want to see his... he showed his short-form birth certificate. I don't care. I want to see his long-form. Oh, he showed his long-form. I don't care. I want to see his college fucking transcripts. Weird. He never said that about Bill Clinton. It has to be the first black president for him to say that. Number 4, called Mexicans drug dealers. That's when he launched his campaign. They're coming over the border. They're criminals. They're rapists. I assume some are good people. Number 5, the ban on Muslims. That's such a clear example of bigotry. He wants to ban all Muslims, because Al-Qaeda exists. So in his mind, what's he saying? Hey, any Muslim is close enough to Al-Qaeda. I don't give a fuck. I don't care if they're Shiite. I don't care if they're moderate Sunni. I don't care if they're Sufi. I don't care if they're Ahmadi. I don't care about the different schools of thought. I don't give a shit. It's all basically the same in my mind. I want to ban all Muslims. I want to ban all of them. How can anybody argue that that's not bigotry? It's hard to wrap your mind around it, that anybody could argue, because what he's saying is, they're all close enough to the worst kind. So I'm just going to lump all of them in with the worst kind and just say we're just going to keep all of them out. And by the way, that's literally what he said. We want a total and complete shutdown of Muslims coming into the U.S. He announced that in a speech. Now, when he did his Muslim ban, what happened? It was unconstitutional. So they had to water it down more, and then water it down more, and then water it down more, and then water it down more, and it still got slapped down because you can't do it. Then we have the pardon for Joe Arpaio, who was discriminating and just asking people with brown skin for their papers. When he said that the Nazis who were chanting "White Lives Matter" and "Jews will not replace us" at that Richard Spencer rally to keep up a Confederate monument. That's what they were protesting for, to keep a Confederate monument up. He said, some of them are very fine people, on both sides. On both sides, they're very fine people. Then he endorsed slave supporter Roy Moore. By the way, that's literal. He said, Roy Moore said, hey, isn't it, things seem to go smoother back in those times. I don't know how anybody could deny that Trump's a bigot at this late date. But I want to throw a little plot twist at you here. So that's Trump's shithole country's remark and, my take on it. But there's another angle to this that annoys the shit out of me, which is the reaction from Democrats. So look at this. Top Dems to introduce resolution to censure Trump over shithole country's remark. Now, you might be thinking, well, Kyle, why does this annoy you? Because this is Democrats saying, yes, we agree that he's a bigot. We're going to censure him. So we're on your side. Okay, here's why this annoys me. This is what we call Mick resistance. This is Mick resistance. Trump's bigotry and stupidity allows Democrats to resist without resisting. Nothing hinges on your shitty attempt to censure him over the shithole country's remark. But they'd rather, how many Democrats are going to back this while at the same time simultaneously voting to give Trump more spying powers? Which is what just happened. 55 Democrats said, yeah, we want to allow him to do warrantless surveillance on the entire country. So for them to allow him to do spying, by the way, I thought you said he was Putin's puppet. Now you're in favor of him spying on everybody. So doesn't that mean you're Putin's puppet too? But this is the point, man. This is what they do. They say, oh, we're so against him. He's such a bad person. Now let me vote with him on everything that actually fucking matters. So another point is, how about fighting for the Dreamers? There's this whole DACA fight that's going on now. Democrats said, we're going to huff and we're going to puff and we're going to blow your house down and we will stand strong and shut down the government if you don't give us a clean Dream Act. Then what did they do? Push came to shove and they were like, anyway, we're folding and we're not going to force a clean Dream Act. So as they're doing fake fighting, yeah, we're going to fight Trump on policy. Yeah, we're going to look out for the Dreamers. Watch out. Anyway, we fold and you can have whatever you want, Republicans. But then they'll turn around and they'll say, oh, we're proposing to censure Trump over his shithole country's remark. Sir, how dare you say such a thing? How dare you say such a thing? I am so against you. Gosh golly, I'm so against you. You said mean things and used foul language. We're against you. And we're going to stand united on this front to say that you shouldn't have said shithole countries. But nothing hinges on that. People's lives hinge on looking out for the Dreamers. Their lives hinge on that. But you're not fighting on that front. You're fighting over the, oh, shithole countries. How dare you say that? This is the problem. Is that Trump's vulgarity and idiocy and bigotry allows Democrats, all they have to do is go, you're a bad person, Mr. President. You're mean. You say bad words. We don't like it when you do that. And then idiots in the press go, oh, so brave. Brave of the Democrats to agree with Donald Trump on everything policy-wise, but wag their finger when he uses bad language. So that's what's so fucking frustrating about this. This is virtue signaling and fake moral posturing by the Mick resistance. And then let me show you one more here, because this annoyed me too. Stephanie Ruhle chokes up when recounting having to hide Trump's comments from her kids. That's what led an MSNBC host to tear up. He said, shithole countries, hide the kids, literally, hide them. I can't have my kids looking. Now look, I just did a whole thing about how I agree. Those are bigoted comments through and through with terrible things to say. And he is a bigot. Of course. Absolutely. But this is going to be the issue that leads you to tear up on air? Where the fuck were you to tear up when Trump's first military raid as president killed a young American girl? His very first military act as president killed a young American girl in a botched raid. Where were you to cry when Trump increased drone strikes 432%? By the way, under Obama, drones killed 90% civilians. 90% civilians. Where were you to cry for that? Where were you to cry for, I don't know, the children of Gaza when they were slaughtered in 2014 by terrorist Benjamin Netanyahu and his bloodbath in there? Where were you to cry then? Where were you to cry for all the innocent civilians that die when we continuously bomb 8 different countries, which we're doing right now? Where were you to cry when they got rid of the rules of engagement in Somalia that's going to endanger lives even more so? Where were you to cry for all these things? Where were you to cry for the 45,000 people that die every year because they don't have access to basic health care in the United States? Where were you to cry for that? Where were you to cry for the UN report that just came out that said extreme poverty in rural America is just as bad as in third world countries? Where were you to cry for that? Where were you to cry for Edward Snowden, who's hiding overseas even though he's a hero whistleblower who exposed the crimes of our own government? Where were you to cry for that? Because you're not serious people. You're not serious people. All you do in the establishment press is, what's the hot button issue of the day? Oh, Trump cursed. Let me cry on air because of my kids. Oh, my kids, my kids, my kids. God damn it, man. Your moral outrage meter is broken, and it's been broken all along. There's roughly 3 or 4 different stories every single day that can lead you to cry, where I would forgive you if you cried on air, and I might even do a segment where I say, this is a brave segment where she's showing human emotion over an issue that truly should evoke human emotion. The slaughtering of innocent civilians overseas. Where were you to cry for the people of Yemen? The people of Yemen who are routinely being slaughtered by Saudi Arabia, backed by the United States. As we arm them out the wazoo, they attack open-air markets, they attack mosques, they attack schools, hospitals. There's over 1 million people who are suffering from a cholera outbreak in Yemen, totally preventable. But why do they have a cholera outbreak? Because Saudi Arabia is blockading the country and stopping medical supplies and food from going in, and we agree with it. We're totally fine with it. Where the fuck are your tears for that issue? Where are your tears? You don't have them because you're not serious. You're a fucking corporate prop that they throw out there to do Mick resistance, and then you turn around and agree with Trump on policy. Ah, sure, we'll fold for DACA, but oh, he said shithole countries. Oh, my children, my kids. I don't want to hear another fucking word of Mick resistance. I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of the, he cursed. Oh, have you no decorum, sir? Can't you go back to slaughtering innocent people and being massively corrupt politely? Why can't you do that? Like Obama and Bush. I'm so sick of it. Stop with the fucking Russia, Russia, Russia. Oh, he's a puppet. Now let's vote for him to spy on everybody. Let's have warrantless spying on everybody. Let's give this maniac free reign. I'm so against him. He's Putin's puppet. He curses. It's bad. Anyway, here's warrantless spying powers. Here's authorization for another fucking war. Here's, tacit agreement of your Goldman Sachs pact administration. The Democrats are never going to connect their outrage back to policy because they agree with him much more on policy than they would like you to know.